Hey everyone, so I just finished book three of the Mistborn trilogy, The Hero of Ages, and I really enjoyed it. So I wanted to do a video where I kind of give just my initial thoughts. This isn't my review of the third book or even my review of the whole series. This is just me kind of giving out my initial feelings right after finishing the series. And so this will be spoiler filled. I'm just going to kind of talk freely about the series. And so if you haven't read the books, you know, don't go any further. But then so let's get into the talking about it. So just coming off of the third book, I mean, first of all, like I just things got so much bigger than I expected them to, and like we were hinted that things would get really big in the Well of Ascension. You know, like with the power and how like big it was. Like we had this like kind of feeling for it, but like I wasn't expecting anybody to ascend to literal godhood. And both Vin and Seiza did in this book, and I didn't hate it. I did not hate that because while I did really enjoy the super what I felt was a really contained story in the first book. Like I really thought that the first book, the plot of the first book was we were going to see that spread out over the three books. Like that's just what I anticipated. Like once I started it, I'm like, oh okay, so we're gonna see this kind of dragged out. And so like when that got resolved in the first book, I was like, whoa, that moved pretty fast, and I was very interested to see where it went. And I liked it. I liked a lot of where it went, but I I also kind of liked it when it was a little bit more contained. And I like I just I'm I kind of had the same thing where I haven't read the Hunger Game books. I really want to, but I've seen the first two movies and I really liked the first Hunger Game movie. And then I feel like this is gonna be like a super unpopular opinion, but I'm just gonna here I thought I really liked the first Hunger Game movie, but then the second one it kind of branched out from just like the Hunger Game and it started talking more about like the government and like the this dystopian society that they lived in, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this like simple story about just like the Hunger Games and like this, talking about morality and like all this. I enjoyed that. Not morality is the wrong word, but it was the more contained story. And that was kind of my feelings about the first Mistborn book. I'm like, oh, I really like this. And then as the world grew, the second book I really enjoyed also though. I did put it like definitely on par with the first book. Probably giving the first book an edge just because I love the character of Kelsier so much. Like that was what they did with like I got misty when Vin read that letter that Kelsier left for her. That got me. But the second book was also really good. It had some huge highlights. I felt like this book was definitely the weakest. The Hero of Ages was the weakest in terms of like the plot. Um, but that's I mean that's fine. But just Seiza's arc in this book was so good. I loved it so much. Just him going from like how it's just his lowest point, and I was like really feeling for him, and it really felt like a lot of people were at their low points in this story. But it was just so nice seeing all of them kind of rise above that. And it is nice. Like I read a lot of like like every Game of Thrones, and I've read like the First Law, so like these those are more grim darky fantasies, and so it's nice to read stuff that has more of a happy ending, and this definitely did. And I liked the ending. I was shocked when Ellen died. I was like, what? And then I was less surprised when Vin died, just because Ellen had just died, and I'm like, oh okay, we're killing main people right now. And so that was I was just really shocked at that. But I didn't. I actually enjoyed that. I did think that that was like good to fit the narrative. I loved that Seiza became the hero at the end. That was a really cool kind of inverse of what I was expecting. Just because I mean I loved Vin. Vin was such a cool character. But it was kind of a fun little subversion that wasn't what we got. She wasn't the hero. She was the hero. She was pretty much the hero. Seiza just kind of took it at the end. But I mean everybody played their role. Um, and but I can't help but think about what I feel like would have been, and this is a total revamp of this would require just completely altering the second and third books. Mostly the third book. Maybe some things would have had to change in the second book, but I would have liked to have seen Ellen go down the path where it looked like he was going to be like what the Lord Ruler was. And this would have, like I said, this would require some huge changes to the story. But they like definitely hinted at it with him like sympathizing with how bad the Lord Ruler was. And like I feel like we really in this book, like I get it, the Lord Ruler was trying to like be a, he's trying to stop the ruin, and this is, a good plan to stop it and everything. But I mean, what he did to the Ska for no reason, like I feel like that's I just feel like people were really forgetting that a little bit. People were just really kind of forgetting like the way, like, oh my gosh, because the most powerful scene in the first book, well, there's a lot of powerful scenes in the first book, but like when they were executing those Ska like four at a time in the first book, and it was just like 12, 16, every few lines, 20, and it was just that scene was so crazy, and it just hurt so much, and it was just like that, like I can't just forget that that was happening, and so I feel like there was a little bit too much of like kind of forgiving the Lord Ruler. I did like the fact that we sympathized with him so much, but like he definitely wasn't like this great guy. I mean, just I feel like people forgave him a little too much in this, but just because of all the unnecessary damage he did. Like I just don't understand why he had to subjugate the Ska. It just real I maybe I missed that. If you guys know why he like that was like necessary for some reason, please comment down that down below, because like I just don't understand why that was necessary at all. Like he literally had like all the powers. Like if he could alter, like, oh, these people are like able to give birth better, and like he could literally change so many things. Like why even make it where there's a group of people that have to be subjugated? Maybe there was some sort of restrictions that I wasn't aware of, but it just didn't make sense to me. Why he would do that? And obviously, I mean, and maybe it's just to show that like while he was flawed. He was a flawed person. Um, but I got super off track there. But yeah, I would have loved to see Ellen go down that path and Vin having to stop Ellen. But then I kind of re backed away from that, because I loved at the end of the first Mistborn book when like Vin like goes to Ellen, and like at the end, and like she finally feels like this like sense of home and this like sense of trust, and like the just what it did for her. Like I'm not like the biggest Ellen fan, but just the purpose that like how much Ellen meant to Vin, that would have like destroyed me if like Vin had to stop Ellen. So maybe it's good that it didn't go down that path. But it was just really interesting, like all the times that they had Ellen kind of like sympathizing with the Lord Ruler. You even could have gone like even you could have had Vin. I mean, maybe Vin takes the path of the Lord Ruler. That would have also been interesting. Just there were a lot less hints that like Vin would go that way. But overall, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this series. I really enjoyed it. It was so satisfying, like finishing a trilogy, like a story that started it, and then I ended it in a reasonable amount of time. 3 books. It wasn't that crazy. It wasn't that no 15 books Wheel of Time, or no 10-year gap in between books. George R. R. Martin. Like this was nice. It is super well written. I mean, great characters. But I definitely felt like I was reading this book more for the characters than for the plot. Like I felt that like a lot in this third book. It's not a big deal, but it's just a lot less plot driven, in my opinion. Maybe people really disagree with that. I haven't looked at any reviews or anything for this book yet. This is literally just like I just put the book down. These are my initial thoughts, and so like please comment down below like what you guys thought of the series. Definitely like mark anything you say with like a spoiler warning if you talk about specific spoilers, because I'd hate for someone to like look in the comment section and get spoiled, even though this is a spoiler filled video, so I don't know why they would read the comments. But yeah, definitely always like mark your comments with spoilers. Yeah, I loved it. This is a series I'm definitely going to recommend to people as like an introductory, like honestly, just like not even just a fantasy, just like back into reading. Just because I feel like this is a really like Brandon Sanderson's writing is so like easy to get into. He writes in a very like straightforward way. His like prose is like good. Like it's not like Robert Jordan's prose or anything, but it gets the job done in a very efficient way. It's very efficient prose, and like I like that, and I feel like that's good for like a lot of people. So I'm definitely going to recommend the series to a ton of people, like a ton of people. Even though it's not my favorite series, I'm going to recommend it to so many people because I feel like it's such a good gateway into this like incredible world of like fantasy and these great stories. And so yeah, I really really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to do my like full review of like the third book. But those are just kind of my initial thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing them. If you guys disagreed with anything I said, please leave a comment down below. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day.